Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story about the time an employee got petty during their boss's divorce. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash the like if you enjoy the content, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a juicy story. The Petty Packing, a tale of divorce and revenge. Around the end of 2017, my boss's wife went through a midlife crisis and decided to have an affair and move out of their house. Divorce proceedings initiated shortly after. In the following March, there was an incident between the two of them that necessitated court intervention and for them to meet some requirements as a result. One of those requirements was her being required to walk around the house and make a list of all the items that were hers. Cue pettiness on her part. Boss's lawyer stated that, in my 20 years of law practice, I have never seen a list this petty. Half of the dish towels, half of the paper plate holders, half of the pots, the curtains in the lounge, etc., etc. You get the idea. She made sure she got half of everything. However, my boss did not allow her to come into the house herself to pack, as she had spent the previous 5 months stealing out of the house at every opportunity, and he didn't trust her to pack only her belongings. So he made me do it. Small company, nothing else really for me to be doing, so I dutifully started collating her belongings. This is where the pettiness comes in. She requested one saucepan. I shook both, and one had a loose handle. She got that one. She asked for the curtains in the lounge. She didn't ask for the curtain hooks, so I took all those out. Half of the dish towels, she got all the grody, mismatched ones, not the nice red set. Half the containers in the storage room, never specified she wanted the contents, so she got empty containers. I did this for the entire list, making sure I was as petty as possible when packing up the house. The result? Part 1. Once she took all her stuff, she sent a very long letter via her lawyer stating that what she received was not what was listed in her belongings. We painstakingly went through the entire list, explaining that she received exactly what was written on her list, and we couldn't possibly be at fault since she wasn't specific enough. Part 2. Their divorce was finalized at the end of 2019. Occasionally, we'll still get the stray email saying we need to return items to her that weren't provided back in 2018. It makes my petty heart burn bright, knowing that she tried to be a bee about taking things, and I turned it back on her and ruined it by being extra petty. Edit. I did not behave like this in a vacuum. I did not screw over a kindly woman that I didn't know. No, I'm not dating or married to my boss. I can't believe I have to say this, but not every woman in a divorce is the good party, and women can be evil, narcissistic people just like men. Divorce brings out the worst in people. I'm my boss's personal assistant, and it's my job to read his emails. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I expected you to cut the things literally in half, but that would have hurt your boss as well, so good job. And our second story. I do work here, but I don't work here, boss. Years ago, I worked part-time as a student for a certain car manufacturer. They gave me a work uniform, which was fresh, but unmarked and not much else. I added a clipboard and several new pins to my work uniform because I heard other students got fired for bad writing and crimping up all the documents, unable to be digitalized and fed into their system. My job's simple. If the car rolls towards me on the conveyor belt, I rearrange the cables in the correct position, make a note on my clipboard which part and car I had to rearrange, and that's it. So I kept going at it for weeks, often for 8 to 10 hours a shift, and the workers knew my face by now. The only person I'd only seen once was a big fat bald man in a suit. I was told it was the manufacturing hall boss of this plant. One day, the conveyor belt stopped for an hour, but instead of sweeping the ground as I usually do to not look idle, I took the clipboard and pretended to take notes when a big bald man rolled up on me from the side. "Boss, you there, come with me." Confused but calmly and collected, I pointed at myself and stood up to follow the red-faced creature that was screaming as loud as a passing train. "Boss, who else could I mean? This way, now!" I followed him while he stomped down the beltline as if in hope to magically get it back to running. Then he abruptly stopped. Several workers I knew looked in surprise and in curiosity what a simple student working part-time could have done to enrage the boss of the manufacturing hall. He then exploded into an endless tirade about technicalities and parts not fitting. Since I'm polite, I only tried once to interject how he got the wrong guy, but since he'd interrupted my attempt by ordering me to shut up, I just stood there and smiled to show him I was listening and he had my full attention. Hard not to. This went on for at least 6 minutes. I remember because I snuck a peek at the timer on how long the belt line had been standing still. Boss, did you get all that? Are we understanding each other? Get on the phone now and call your boss about the replacement parts. This'll be on you. Me. Sure thing, boss, but I don't know your number. Also, I don't work in this sector of the manufacturing hall. Boss, visibly confused. What do you do here? Snickering workers in the background. Me. I turn the cables in the proper position and take a note of the part where and whenever this was necessary. I'm a student part-timer. Boss. Okay. Walks away as if in daze. Addendum. 2 weeks later, they stopped extending my contract and I returned to my studies. According to a worker I kept contact with, my part-time workplace was involved in some drama as the person they hurriedly hired just copied my documents and left for several hours. He didn't rearrange the cables to ease the workflow of the workers down the line, so someone silently bled for that too. Worst of all, he created duplicates for days in their system and a few thousand undocumented parts. A regular conveyor belt worker had to sub in there and add that work to his regular work until they hired a new student weeks later. Clipboards always strike fear into the masses. Writing on a clipboard whilst looking around brings utter despair. Couple that with the frown, and you're well on your way to master grifter status, since very few people will be willing to question you. And our next story. Neighbor was petty on property limits. Now I'm going to make him replace his whole fence. When my contractor installed the fence around my property, he made a mistake and went over the property line by 4 centimeters along my neighbor's hedge. My neighbor made a fuss of it and even dragged us to court. We lost, obviously. He was petty, but that's the law. However, we found out today that his dog is amongst the dangerous breed, so his fence should be 2 meters high with a concrete base around all of his property. Turns out the current one is 1 meter 40 with no base. Guess what complaint I'm going to file with police? I have 3 small kids who like to play in the yard, and he has trained his dog to bark whenever they go outside. He's a heinous guy, for real. Edit. My contractor told me he wouldn't move it because that's in the margin of error for plans, and it's along a effing hedge. Update. Surveyor came today to install the new boundary markers, and in a very happy for us twist, they were actually stealing more land from us than we were for them, just on the other stretch of our shared limit. Their fence was off by 2 degrees over 17 meters, meaning overall they took over our property by 5.1 square meters, and the back of their shed is too close to the line of the new survey according to zoning regulation. We are laughing. It's hysterical for us that they went to all the trouble of making us pay for a survey over 0.4 square meters, but are going to end up losing part of theirs? Maybe you have to tear their shed down? Not sure yet if we're going to be magnanimous on this point and not report them on that. And of course, the dog-proof fencing all around their property. And our next story. No, I'm not giving you another free giveaway. So I work at your average grocery store in Canada. It's moderately busy, and I commonly work at the self-checkout station or behind the customer service desk. A few days ago, I happened to be working for the self-checkout station. I was standing by the customer service desk when an older lady stops in front of me on her way out. For context, our store occasionally gives away a certain item if you spend over a certain amount. This week it was a box of snacks, like Oreos, etc. Old lady. Is that your giveaway for this week for spending over X amount? Me. Yes, I can grab you one if you'd like. Old lady. Well, I don't want it. Can you do a substitution? At this point, I'm thinking that she may have dietary restrictions or something. We've done substitutions for people who want a vegetarian option before. I was wrong. Me. Are you thinking of a substitution for dietary reasons? She looked super confused, even with her mask on. Old lady. No, I'm asking for another option because I don't like that giveaway. Don't you have anything else? Me. Unfortunately, we do not. This is our only giveaway for this week. You don't have to take it, though. Most, if not all people who don't want the giveaway just say no when offered it or donate it to the breadbasket box we have in our store. She started walking away from me, so I thought the conversation was done by this point, but she turns around. Old lady: "Well, I think you should offer me another option, especially if the customer doesn't like the one the store has." Me: "I understand, but unfortunately this is the giveaway that was chosen for this week. There's no other free option." She was pretty annoyed at this point. Old lady: "That's ridiculous. What's the value of the giveaway then?" Me: "The value of the giveaway is $25, but it's given for free when spending over X dollars." Old lady: "Well, take $25 off my bill then." This doesn't even make sense, since the product we give away is free. It's nothing like a coupon. I was super confused now. Me: "Unfortunately, I cannot do that. That giveaway is the only option the store offers this week." Old lady: "This store needs to offer another giveaway." It was getting busy again, and I was getting pretty tired of repeating the same thing over and over again. Me: "Well, you can take the free giveaway, or your other option is to not take it at all." She didn't say anything after that and walked away from me, so luckily for me, that was the end of that. And our last story. Neighbor blocked me off without permission. My neighbor put up a gate that runs from the brick of his house to the brick of mine, essentially blocking me off from any access to the south side of my house. He drilled into my chimney and put it up while I was at work without permission. If he were to get a dog or place a lock, I would never be able to get to that side of the house. I called and spoke with the city assessor, and he said they don't have any land plats for our houses and to look for the spikes in the ground, no metal detector, and the city inspector told us he's in violation and has to move it, but we have to agree on the line on where it's placed. After the inspector told him he had to remove it, he started to threaten me every afternoon after I got home from work, started saying crap like he was going to make my life miserable every day until I moved. Told the neighbors, who were trying to defuse the argument, lies that I smoked something illegal and he was going to call the police the next time he smelled it. I don't smoke. No reason to lie to random internet people. It's becoming very hard not to beat the crap out of him, as he's just a really skinny little twerp with a hipster beard and a twirled mustache making big threats. The neighbor says I only get 3 feet from the most recessed area of my wall, but my grass extends all the way out to his driveway, as well as the concrete on my side of the house. I don't want him tearing up the concrete in my side of the house because he decided to place a gate without asking. Follow-up. I'm going to discuss this with the wifey. We're both a little nervous about being hated in the neighborhood. We've only been in the house since September 2017. I guess this is something we shouldn't give a crap about, but it's hard to turn off. Also, his father lives across the street from us, and so does his friend. We're kind of trapped on all sides with people that he's close with, which is why we haven't called the police yet. Worried about being surrounded with enemies. Update. Hey everyone, just want to say thanks again. The neighbor's father agreed to remove the panels blocking me off from the side of my home, and I agreed to him running the fence line along the backyard fence line. Maybe a stupid decision, but I can't afford the $1,500 for a surveyor to find the lines, and the whole thing was too stressful for sure. I just wanted it to be over. If my neighbor drilled into my house and threatened me, I'd call the police and file a report, then go from there. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.